NASCAR successfully returning to the once-abandoned North Wilkesboro Speedway earlier this month, many fans are already looking at potential candidates for the next grassroots revitalization. The Associated Press recently polled many NASCAR legends on what tracks they'd like to see NASCAR return to. Drivers like Richard Petty, Terry Labonte, Jeff Gordon all mentioned a certain 1-mile track located about 80 miles east of Charlotte known simply as The Rock. Two-time Cup champ Terry Labonte was quoted saying, "I would love for someday to see Rockingham come back on the schedule. Maybe not run it every year, but enough where you could rotate it on the schedule. I think the fans would really love it because it's a great track." Meanwhile, others like Jeff Gordon were a bit more realistic. He told the AP that while Rockingham would be his first choice, he wishes it was, quote, 5 to 10 miles outside of Dallas or Houston. Dale Earnhardt Jr., whose support was crucial in getting North Wilkesboro Speedway renovated and back on the Cup Series schedule, was even more pessimistic, saying, quote, "I'm worried for Rockingham's future because I think a lot of people in the industry would view that as not a step forward if we were to go back there, but a step back." Rockingham Speedway majority owner Dan Levenheim made headlines last week when he said the track was very optimistic about a potential NASCAR return. "What I can say is that we are obviously in talks with everyone. I am very hopeful and very optimistic at this point." While traveling the Moonshine and Motorsports Trail across North Carolina a few weeks ago, I was invited by Dan and the folks at the track to come visit Rockingham Speedway, see what's changed, and to get an understanding of what the track hopes their future will look like. Rockingham Speedway originally opened as North Carolina Motor Speedway in 1965, with Curtis Turner winning the inaugural NASCAR Grand National Series race on the 1-mile oval that same year. The track added a second NASCAR date the very next season and quickly became a staple on the NASCAR Grand National schedule. Over the ensuing decades, no surprise, Richard Petty would become the winningest driver at the track with 11 Grand National wins. Cale Yarborough nabbed 7 trophies, David Pearson won 5, Rusty Wallace won there 5 times as well, and newcomer Jeff Gordon won 4 Rockingham races in the 90s to match drivers like Bobby Allison, Darrell Waltrip, and Bill Elliott. I rattle off that impressive list of names just to highlight how Rockingham Speedway typically rewarded the best of the best. Unfortunately for the track, the tide began to turn in the mid-1990s as NASCAR's popularity began to explode and the sanctioning body looked to new venues in new markets that could accommodate the larger fan base. New Hampshire was built in 1990, Homestead, Miami 1995, Las Vegas 96, Texas Motor Speedway and California Speedway 1997, Kansas Speedway, Chicagoland were opened in 2001. All these tracks located closer to big cities began to squeeze dates away from some of NASCAR's classic racetracks. For example, nearby North Wilkesboro Speedway lost their 2 dates to Texas Motor Speedway in New Hampshire after the 1996 season. In 2004, for the first time since its inaugural season, Rockingham would drop one of its 2 NASCAR dates. This, of course, sparked rumors that Rockingham could be on its way out completely. The second race of the 2004 season, the Subway 400, wound up being the final NASCAR Cup Series event at The Rock, at least for now. A solid crowd of roughly 50,000 fans poured into the facility, short of a sellout though, and unfortunately short of many of the massive crowds NASCAR was drawing at that time. As for the race itself, we've all seen the iconic finish, but because I'm a massive Matt Kenseth fan, I'm gonna make you watch it again. Kenseth, the defending champion at the time, managed to hold off hard-charging Casey Kane by just 1/100th of a second. Gosh, I would have loved to be in that crowd that day. NASCAR, which had just transitioned into the post-Winston, now Nextel Cup Series era, would not return to Rockingham Speedway in 2005. Rockingham was actually sold by ISC to SMI, with Bruton Smith's company paying an estimated $100 million for the facility. Really, SMI was paying for Rockingham's date on the NASCAR schedule, which basically went to Texas Motor Speedway. Rockingham did attempt a big return just over a decade ago. In 2012 and in 2013, the Camping World Truck Series raced there. But pretty quickly, NASCAR left once again due to the track's ongoing financial troubles. Owners Andy Hillenberg and Bill Silas, who actually bought the track back in 2007, reportedly owed more than $4 million in debt, and eventually the track was foreclosed on in 2015. Little events have popped up here and there over the years, but for the most part, Rockingham Speedway has been devoid of major motorsports events for roughly a decade now. Which brings us now closer to the present day. The track was bought by Rockingham Properties LLC in 2018. At the time, Dan Levenheim, majority owner, said that racing would be an integral part of the track's future. We're going to pay tribute to the past with the future. Rockingham Speedway received roughly $9 million in federal funds allocated by the North Carolina state government, similar to how North Wilkesboro Speedway and actually Charlotte Motor Speedway also received that money. With that money, Rockingham Speedway was recently able to repave the entire 1-mile surface and add new, safer barrier walls to the turns. The $3.5 million repave wrapped up in February of 2023, and safer barriers were finished being installed in March. Now, Dan and the folks at Rockingham Speedway were kind enough to let me just roam about the facility, walk around the grandstands, peek into the suites, explore the infield garages, which have now been outfitted with lights and lasers. And they even let me drive around the track in my rental car. Here's what that looked like.
We are on Rockingham Speedway. I'm standing here near pit entry. There's my rental car just parked by the water barrels, the sand barrels. The sun is beginning to set. We're just out here. This is actually ridiculous. Now, Rockingham repaved recently. They just got done repaving the facility after, I think it was like 30 something years since it had been repaved. I think they wrapped this up in February, so it's some fresh asphalt. But they've got some fresh, safer barriers that have been installed in turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 in the corners. This behind me, let's go look at it, is still just an OG concrete. Oh, that made a really ugly sound. Concrete wall. The catch fence is right up here up against it. The grandstands right there, about, I don't know, 15 feet away. Here we go, I just walked over towards turn 4. Ever wonder what a fresh, newly installed safer barrier wall looks like? Look at the fresh foam blocks. Not a scratch on this thing. No one's gotten a Rockingham stripe yet. This track looks so clean. I know there'll be some old school fans who lament, oh, why'd they have to repave the old worn out surface? But this does look really clean. They also let me know that they plan to open up some sort of museum, some small exhibits perhaps underneath the main grandstands whenever this place hopefully starts to bring more and more racing action back. They've still got the Papa Joe Hendrick garage sign out front here. I love that. I hope they're able to preserve some of that even amidst all the construction, even when they hopefully get, you know, some pretty major racing back here. I hope they're able to preserve at least some of that history, even if it has to be updated somewhat. Did I mention they're gonna add lights? They're gonna add lights all the way around here. That's what they said, that's what they told me. So, sky's the limit. Rockingham Speedway, I hope the future is nice to you. We have to make a lap. I'm not gonna go too fast, but we have to make a lap around Rockingham Speedway. I'm working in the new asphalt. I'm trying to wear it out, you know, age it nicely. I'm helping. Let's do this. This is a rental car, so I'm gonna try to keep things nice and slow. Not gonna do anything too risky. Oh my gosh, it's already so banked before you even get to turn 1. All right, we are in the banking. Okay, we're going like, probably need to go a little faster, honestly, to make sure I don't slip. This is like caution speed. This feels really fast. Is this caution speed? Like, how do they, when they're wiggling their tires back and forth? I'm not about to start swerving. This is 50 miles per hour. Okay, into turn 3. Oh, that banking is intimidating. Let's go all the way down here to the bottom. There's no painted line. We'll go down here to the bottom, the lowest seam. We're coming to the restart. There's no restart zone currently labeled, but green, green, green. Woohoo! This is insane. Are you kidding me? This is Rockingham Speedway. Up a little higher. You know, we gotta work in the top lane. We can't have this being a one groove track. Okay, I'm gonna bring this thing onto pit road. Oh my Lord. Oh yeah, nice and gently off the banking, onto the pit lane. Let's not hit those water barrels. Let's pull into a pit stall. This one looks good. Let's do it. 4 tires and fuel, baby. Again, I'm helping age the asphalt nicely. That's what I'm doing.
Rockingham is now billed as a speedway and entertainment complex. When I was there a few weeks ago, a lot of work was being done to prepare for a music festival that they were hosting in the infield. Lots of work still remained with Little Rock, the half-mile short track behind the big track's back straightaway. Right now, there is a smart modified tour race scheduled for Little Rock in October. I'll be very curious to see what shape the track is in. When I was there a few weeks ago, there had not yet been any sort of grandstands installed. Like, there was still some work to be done. It's clear, though, that Rockingham Speedway has bigger goals of bringing stock car racing back to the main track. Last year, VP of Operations Justin Jones said, quote, "My goal when I first took this position was to rebuild the foundation of Rockingham in hopes of inserting Rockingham back into the foundation of NASCAR." In February, track officials said they'd had brief conversations with NASCAR. "The ball is now in their court," they said. Since then, Justin Jones is no longer with the company from what I've been told, but the track has repaved and added fresh, new, safer barriers. And the dilapidated turns 1 and 2 grandstands have been almost completely ripped out, reportedly to be replaced by a sun deck with room for live music. When I was there a few weeks ago, I asked owner Dan Levenheim if they'd had any recent talks with NASCAR or other major racing series, to which he simply said, "We're working on a lot of stuff." Which sounds a lot like the recent quote, "We're in talks with everyone." What kind of stuff ultimately will become a reality? What does the future hold for Rockingham Speedway? Would NASCAR consider a return? The history is strong. I believe there would be local interest. I was talking to the folks in the office, and they said they still get calls and emails from people in the community who maybe were digging through old boxes and found old souvenirs or old Rockingham Speedway artifacts. There's still a sense of local pride for this racetrack. The biggest obstacle, I believe, that may prevent NASCAR from returning is oversaturation. North Carolina is still NASCAR's home base, and there are a ton of fans here. But now that North Wilkesboro Speedway has returned, is there room for a third track? Rockingham is 90 minutes from Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's an hour from Darlington. It's only about 2 hours from Martinsville. All those tracks have 2 dates a year. And I haven't even mentioned North Wilkesboro, Richmond, Bristol, even Atlanta, which are, a reasonable day trip away. When I look at the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series schedule, there are 13 races within a 5-hour drive of Rockingham Speedway. Now, if any region in the country can support all that racing, it's the Carolinas. But I'm sure that is one of the biggest hurdles currently facing this track. I would love to see NASCAR return to Rockingham Speedway, but at the same time, I'm just not sure what track it would replace. It's no longer owned by ISC or SMI, so it's unlikely either company would want to give up one of their existing dates to an independently owned track. Pocono is independently owned, but it's already down to 1 date. Indianapolis is Indianapolis. I don't think NASCAR is going to leave there. Dover and Nashville used to be independent, but now they're owned by SMI. Maybe if NASCAR does in fact completely sell the land Auto Club Speedway currently stands on, maybe there would be room for Rockingham to slot back into that, second race of the year part of the schedule. Although I'm not sure that the weather would be friendliest that time of year. It's tough. NASCAR in recent years has skirted the line between expansion and still keeping to its roots. They've tried new things like the Clash at the LA Coliseum, the upcoming Chicago Street Course, while also giving love to the timeless North Wilkesboro Speedway. If NASCAR ever were to return to Rockingham Speedway, one thing is for sure, there would be no other track on the schedule quite like the 1 mile, 25-degree banked asphalt oval known simply as The Rock. Thank you so much for watching this video, and a big thank you again to Rockingham Speedway for inviting me out a few weeks ago. If you're in North Carolina, I highly consider checking out the Moonshine and Motorsports Trail. It consists of a number of historic stops across the state, including the NASCAR Hall of Fame, Rockingham Speedway, North Wilkesboro Speedway, the North Carolina Museum of History, Occoneechee Speedway Trail. Check out my recent series of videos. I stopped at a number of the Moonshine and Motorsport Trail spots, give you an idea of what to expect, might help you plan your next North Carolina trip. Thank you so much for watching, y'all. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, hit that subscribe button if you're new. I'll see you in the next episode.